This one won Red Bull Illume, correct, Scott?
Well, the category.
The illumination.
But not the overall. Yeah.
Guys, this is how you use light. This is the perfect example if you want to know Illume.
Yeah, another art of flight. Just that. This was our last day. From day one, I said I wanted to get a shot looking down on a rider from the helicopter, but the filming helicopter always in the air, and to put two in the air and flying around, it's just messy. And so at the end, I was like, I got to do this, and I went over with Kurt, like, how are we gonna make this happen so we don't hit each other? And we just decided that I was gonna pick up, lift off, and I'm gonna hang out, look at where I want to be. I'm going to sit there and we're not going to move. Travis is going to ride into the frame. I'll shoot it. He'll disappear, but we'll stay put, and the other helicopter will just fly around knowing that we're in that one spot. So I think this was like the last or second last photo of that trip, which is crazy because the very first photo of the trip was kind of a similar one. It was taken from me on the ground, but watching him disappear, which turned out to be a great shot too, quite similar, but first and last shots of the trip. And
that lighting is just insane.
It was like 9:30 at night too up there. It was just really, really late in the day, and just sort of hits this one peak perfectly, and just
great work.
Just the mountains.
Wow,
great light up there.
I'll say. Oh, here we go. We got the fish.
There we go.
So this is the shot all in one. And, I love also like being able to create it within one photo. You know what I mean? Rather than in post, like, certain things call for it where you put the sequence together and composited the images. But like doing this, like, yes, you could have done it in post. But the satisfaction of creating in camera and doing this and going through this concept and doing this, it's like, beautiful. We had a question of the lens. This would be the fisheye, correct?
Fisheye, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the thing too with action sports is you start composing one shot, and then just nobody believes that, because you could cut him out, you could raise him up 10 feet.
Yeah, true.
You can do it's easy, right? You can do that, but you just have to be legitimate, I guess.
Absolutely.
And when you start messing around, photoshopping a fish in there, then what else is fake,
right?
And that's more the reason than the satisfaction part of it. But it's the background that I come from, and we come from really as people that document sports, is that if it didn't happen, then you can't make it happen, right?
Right.
So, it's just ethics, right?
Yeah.
And none of my shots are that way.
Right. So with that said, do the riders have to land the trick for you to run it, or it's for you to like submit it? What is the kind of process on that? Surfing, I know there's kind of like, if they don't land the air, but sometimes there is, you know what I mean? Like if it's a critical shot. I know skating, I think, is kind of like do or die on that, like gotta land it kind of thing for it to.
Well.
Or no.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one because so I know in snowboarding if it's a rail shot, then if he doesn't make the rail, I know every time it gets thrown in the garbage. Backcountry riding shots, your board's strapped to your feet. What constitutes a landing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like your board hits, and then your butt hits, and then you stand up.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't make it into a video part these days, but so it's not a land, but is it a land for a photo? I think it's a bit of a gray area. I don't know. I mean, have I had shots published that wasn't landed perfect? Yeah. But I don't know. It's I don't know. Maybe, I guess, is the answer to that. Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes, maybe, always.
It's not a case specific.
Yeah. When you're shooting these, Scott, like your exposure is so spot on. There's so many times I've seen overexposed from surf to snow to anything like that. I mean, it's so critical to ensure that like you have that detail in the spray coming off there, the snow and everything like that. You're shooting manual, but I would assume, how are you modifying or changing these things? Are you setting the exposure ahead of time, seeing where you think your subject's going? Like, how are you working that?
Yeah, it's a lot easier now with digital, to be totally honest. I am shooting fully manual. The sensors, they pick up reflection in the snow, so you never want to shoot snow. And probably the same with you in surf, right? With the white water, right?
Right.
That will a completely different.
You want
reading,
detail
right?
in that.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I tried to do my technique is I try to shoot it as bright as possible, or as overexposed as possible, to get as much detail into the shadows without blowing out the highlights, if that makes sense. And then I bring it all back. So what happens is if you shoot it where the shadows are actually black, there's no information there. So when you go to print it, it doesn't know what to print, and that's why sometimes you'll see like this weird black brown kind of color. And that's just because there's no information in that photo. So here I'll kind of expose for the shady part,
right,
without blowing out any of the highlights. And then it won't necessarily look ideal in the back of the camera, but once you bring the exposure back down, then it all kind of makes sense.
Right.
Now, when we're shooting film, that was different. It's a light meter, and you're actually, it might even be riding over to that area where it's getting the sun,
right,
to get a reading and then go back to where you want to shoot. So it's definitely changed quite a bit, but you can fix a lot with digital these days.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
At least I feel you can.
Yeah. Excellent. That's beautiful. Great explanation. Yeah. Whew. Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce Irons. Wow.
Yeah.
Pasquale's. Is it Pasquale?
No.
I'm down in Mexico, so wow.
Yeah, that he was sending it that day for sure.
Yeah, I remember seeing that shot. The kind, I think, ran it. Several different brands ran that shot. It's so Bruce, you know what I mean? Like, you are on the back of a jet ski, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I would have died out there if I was swimming.
Yeah,
sure.
Me too.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, you would have been fine. But
no,
yeah.
Tried out.
I mean, the waves out there, that place is insane.
Yeah, it's a beach. It's a beach break sandbar. Just so strong, very powerful. What I like. So I've already talked to Scott. So season 2, we're gonna get Scott over to Pipeline, and he's gonna come shoot with me, and then he's gonna take me into the mountains to go shoot snowboarding. So that'll be season 2, which will be very exciting.
And now that you said it, you have to.
Yes.
You have to do
I'm
it.
holding you to it. I'm holding you to it.
I'm holding you to it. I'm not swimming at Pipeline, though, but I'm sure you got a taxi for me to sit on. That's fine.
Absolutely. We'll get you a jet ski out there or something. We'll get you out there. But no, I think that's
some water wings too.
Yeah. Wow. So this is got to be Canada, right?
Yeah, surfing in Canada.
It's cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's just say it's cold, so nobody wants to come up. Really, really cold. But it's surprisingly not as cold as you would imagine.
Okay. It's beautiful. Looks scary, the water. Looks dark, but you get that real dark blue. A lot of sea life.
Tons of sea life. There's sea lions in the water here that come barking at you, which is a little bit intimidating for sure. But this is one of the greatest trips that I had out at this spot. We were camping on the beach for 3 days. We had beautiful weather. Waves were good. Just chopping up driftwood to build fire. We had Ralph Breweiler, who basically took us out there and caught some salmon. Nice. And he filleted that up and made sushi for us. Sushi on the sand in the beach. It was
that's cool.
3 hours from anyone. Definitely a cool experience.
Yeah.
For all the surfers out there,
really
you got to do a trip to Canada. There's nothing like it.
I want to too. Definitely come out there and see that.
Yeah, why don't we do that after snowboarding?
Okay, deal. I'm down.
Yeah.
What kind of lens choices are you doing with these? Because that's just, to me, blows my mind. Just again, the usage of light that you guys are seeing here is just next level. You know what I mean? Like utilizing the shadows to just your exposure to everything that you're seeing there. It's like what lens are you using here, Scott?
So I think it's probably a 70 to 200.
Mm-hmm.
Guessing it's probably closer to the 200 range, if not 200, would be my guess. And here's an example: is we're out looking for a bunch of features. It's the end of the day. We're pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, hey, look at that. You know, the sun just happens to be hitting it perfectly. Hey, go do a turn there.
Wow.
You know, that kind of thing. So a lot of times it's waiting for the light, but sometimes it's just, you just see something and it's that right time of the day and you're like, okay, hurry, get up there. You know, you got 8 seconds before the sun's gone. And it was just one of those, cool surf inspired shots.
Beautiful, dude. So sick.
Thank you.
Woo. Damn. Same location down south?
Yeah. So the story with this is kind of funny because he's flipping me off because he's pissed that we're ripping around on a jet ski shooting, like 4 different guys. And his basically was not too stoked. And I didn't even realize it actually until, that night. I looked back at it, was kind of laughing. But we were just ripping all over the beach because the guys that were driving the ski were local dudes down there that, basically they're like, wow, this is our place.
Right.
And I think this guy's an Aussie dude. So they didn't care. They're just ripping us all over, getting all these shots. And then, funny to look back at this and just kind of laugh.
Beautiful light.
I think he found me on Instagram and sent me a message, kind of laughing at it.
Was he?
Like yeah. He's like, hey, send me that photo.
You're like, yeah, you actually made it
funny,
better.
Yeah.
Like, geez. I mean, this goes back to the compositing the image, as you can see in the bottom on the reflection, utilizing that shot. But I love how you just have one in the top and then you have the entire sequence on below. Like, such a creative, different way to kind of like show it and like bring it all together to tell that story, but have it like clean up front where you got to kind of like, look, it's that little like hidden, it almost doesn't, it's just beautiful setting despite like an overcast day.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it rained the day before. So this is the filming of a movie called Rad Company with Brendan Semenuk. And so basically for the week we were there, I was shooting over the shoulder of all the camera guys, right? They want to get the lines and 5 jumps in a row kind of thing. This was the last day. And I was just able to sort of break off from where everybody was shooting. And because it rained the night before, there's a bunch of water laying around and was able to sort of lay down in the mud and get this reflection shot. And it's the first time I had ever shot a sequence with, with the reflection. So that was new to me. And then when Thomas was riding this jump, he went into it a few times, 3-4 different times. And he'd sort of get to the top of the jump and he'd stop. And then he's kind of like holding his head or shaking his head. That you could tell that he was just trying to wrap his mind around the trick that he wanted to do. So without knowing what he's going to do, I just decided that whenever he drops, I'm going to shoot a sequence, just because I have no idea what he's going to do, and it could be the first time something's ever been done. So that's why I have a sequence of this. And then putting it together, I was wondering, should I do it? Should I not? And when you do the sequence across the top, it just kind of got really cluttered. It was just really hard to tell. They were kind of stacked on top of each other. So I was like, I think this looks better as a still. But as you turn off the layers of the first one, I look down and I see this reflection at the bottom that does tell the story. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And it's something I kind of stumbled on, it just wasn't something that I had gone out and planned to do. But looking back, it's like, that's
cool.
Different.
Can you talk a little bit, because I think it relates for snowboarding as well as like a lot of these sports where from line ground to a degree, because if he was like right in the trees, he wouldn't look as high. If you were too different of an angle, there's certain things I keep seeing in your shots, how you're able to separate the athlete from the background, where sometimes it could get very confusing, or you get it kind of meshing together not as well. You know what I mean? Like, but you really seem to separate it, kind of enhance what they're doing, show the height of what they're doing, and doing that. You said you're laying in the mud here. So it's like, how do you kind of like defer and change that, or like make sure that you like give the athlete that due respect on like the height or distance?
Well, that comes back to the very beginning when I was shooting. I wanted my friends to I wanted to show them going as high as they were, or even higher, for that matter, right? And I want to make sure that if they're doing something, they're risking their life or whatnot, that I do it justice. And so that's always my go-to. If the rider's not happy with their style when I took the shot or how they look in the air, then I throw it away. So a lot of people, they talk about they're creating art and whatever. Well, that's all fine if the rider, if you do the rider justice, right? That's sort of the way I work. So I'm always trying to make him look, as big as possible, or show the length of, the jump and stuff like that. So finding an angle where they pop out and you don't have to, sort of hunt around to find them is always something I'm doing. And as an example, there's the big jump from this session, and there was a tree right in the way. And then no matter where I went, I couldn't get that tree out of the way.
Yeah.
Always, like, the height of the air was right where that tree was. And I talked about it one night, and then the guys there, they're like, "Oh, we'll just chop that tree down." But we're talking a huge tree. It had to have been like 80-footer, right? And I was like, no, we're not cutting down a tree just for a photo.
Right.
So you do run into those times where you don't get the exact angle that you want, because of that. But I definitely try my hardest to.
It's great.
To just have them pop off the background, right?
Right.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Between Sets. Make sure to like and subscribe to be tuned in on all future episodes. Thank you.